Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, CFN. How we doing? Hope everybody has had a great couple of weeks off. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Those who are with us, Richard Dunlop, as always, my friend, front and center. It seems like we just gave our goodbye kisses yesterday. It was almost yesterday. But anyway, nice to see you, Richard. Hopefully you're all rested up. Tony's in the house. How you doing, buddy? Steve's with us. He will be doing a lot of the work, as always, behind the scenes. Charles! Does this look familiar? Yeah, baby. That is the gift that I got that I mentioned to you, and it is a birdhouse. That's the most interesting thing I've seen related to fishing. That's really cool. Love having that up against the wall. Thanks so much, Pat and Charles, for that. Yvonne is background in the lobby in the background, also joining us tonight. Ed's in the house. How you doing, Ed? Bob Bissonette. Always a pleasure to have you guys. Again, wasn't able, like last 2 weeks, I can't begin to tell you. We, of course, had the CFN Fish Off going on, plus, of course, getting ready for our CFN retreat. But I was hoping to have Mike on to talk a little bit about the Fish Off because, of course, it is wrapped up or in the midst of being wrapped up. So tomorrow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because Mike did go live last week, I think he may have just joined us. So let me just see if his video is coming up because he's almost there. But anyway, needless to say, we are going to have a Tourney Tuesday tomorrow. And Mike is here to share a little bit of knowledge on what that's going to be. And Mike, your video is frozen. I see you backstage, but I do not see your video. So again, for those winners who have won so far that we've managed to give out prizes to, we will make sure we confirm your addresses so we can get your prizes out to you as soon as possible. I see Mike. Oh, Mike is there. Can you hear me, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yeah, my internet's unstable today. I don't know why.
Okay. Just so you know, we're live, Red.
I remember those days. Those days.
Do I ever remember those days? So, Mike, I guess the best thing to do is at this point, just bring us up to speed with where we're at in terms of the Fish Off. Obviously, as we know, it has concluded, but what prizes and where are we at for tomorrow's Tourney Tuesday?
All right. So everyone has to join us tomorrow. And that is because we are not giving away one Stratic. We're giving away 2 Stratics. So, Scotty, while you were gone at Horwood catching all the walleye in the world, we did give away a bunch of prizes. But as you requested, we kept some of the big prizes so that we could do it together. So we have the 5 species draw. We have the 10 species draw, which is a Mirabelle. And we have the 15 species draw, which is a Stratic. And then on top of that, we have the Show Your Shimano draw. So we're giving away 2 Stratics and a Mirabelle tomorrow. So you got to join us 7:30 on Tourney Tuesday.
That sounds awesome. Mike, what any takeaways from last week since I wasn't able to join?
It was our official closing ceremonies for Multi-Species Madness. So we had our winner, Darian Savage, watching. We had we had our 4th place winner there, which was Stephanie. We had Daniel Stagg watching, which was our 3rd place winner. So we were able to publicly announce who our top 5 was because they won cash. Darian, being in 1st place, won another Stratic. And then we gave away the kids draw. We gave away the hero shot draw. So we did so many draws, but we have the big draws tomorrow, which means 7:30 tomorrow. Join us. And if you caught a fish, you might have a ballot in there and you might be taking home one of those sweet Shimano reels.
Sounds awesome, Mikey. Right on. Well, with unstable internet, Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it, you did fantastic. It's probably the best feed I've seen you have for a while.
Hey, look, it worked again.
I see that. I saw that.
Yeah, that was cool. I don't know how I did it.
I don't know.
There we go.
There it goes again. Wow. Mike, you're a magician as always, but appreciate it. Appreciate your time, my friend. You take care.
All right. See you all tomorrow, 7:30.
Peace. As mentioned, we just got back from our CFN retreat, and I'll tell you, this is a highlight for myself and for everybody that books this. We so look forward to the retreat. Before we get to that, a big congratulations, and if Jim joins us, he's going to discuss a little bit more about this, but a big shout out, congratulations from CFN to both Chris and Corey Johnson, who took home some serious hardware this weekend. Chris, especially with the Angler of the Year, that is an incredible achievement. Corey is absolutely no slouch either, winning the event, but Chris, Angler of the Year, well done, my friend, well done. So on behalf of CFN, we congratulate you for that. Obviously, we have a new hat, as you can see. It looks very similar to that. In fact, it looks identical to that. Our good buddy Richard Dunlop, who is also sporting our newest hoodie. This hoodie is basically designed similar to that of a hockey jersey, with of course a little CFN flavor to it. But Richard Dunlop is setting things up, and if you are interested in picking up one of these hoodies, or of course one of the hats, and I would say that the hats especially are very reasonably priced for a flex fit. Very reasonable price. Unfortunately, these things, they just keep going up in price. So especially with the graphics that are on it, we tried our best to keep it under $100, but it's slightly over. That includes, of course, our shipping and taxes that we have to charge you. But the hats, I love the fact that decal is not sewed on, but it is actually leather. And it is somehow imprinted on that leather, all of the colors. And as I said, it looks exactly like that. So if you're interested, please reach out to Richard. He will be taking your orders on that. The CFN jersey, it got discussed at the CFN retreat. We're looking into a couple things just to see if we can keep the price down on that. So stay tuned for more in regards to the jersey, which, as I said, has been our flagship. But in the meantime, I know we haven't had a lot of swag, and I apologize, CFNers, that we haven't had it. It's something that unfortunately it hasn't gone all that well for us, and we're hoping that with Richard at the helm and this new supplier that we're going to have a lot more swag coming your way. Hope you guys had a great weekend, great couple of weeks off. I don't know what you guys have been up to, what you've been busy with, but I'll tell you, yeah, Chris, I'd like to make your hoodie. Attaboy. I appreciate that. You had a win on the weekend, Eve. Can you congratulate me on? Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Back at 18.98 pounds and the biggest bass 5.6. Well done, Eve. Well done. I will get you to reach out to Richard in regards to that, Tony. Basically, he has to figure out, of course, the shipping and taxes to make sure. So I don't want to speak out of turn, but speaking to Richard in regards to the flat rate of the hat, very reasonable for a flex fit. Very, very reasonable. Yeah, some nice walleye were caught up at Horwood. And as always, this is really, truly the flagship of our events. This and, of course, our OFC Nation Camp McIntosh OFC Nation retreat at Camp McIntosh. But this one is where it all started. It started at Horwood Lake Lodge. And, of course, we managed the fishing story started right off the bat. I mean, Ro, God bless you, dude. But you definitely caught bigger fish than I did. And I must say, Ro, you were a bundle of energy. If I could tap into anything, it's whatever batteries this kid uses. Because I'm telling you, 100 miles an hour in 100 different directions. But Ro, you were a gem to be around. And of course, Walt made his rounds and hooked up to a lot of that was Bob before that, just as Jerry. Now, Jerry, I got a shout out. Jerry caught the biggest walleye, or at least we thought he did. And typically, large walleye aren't caught. Well, they're caught on occasion, but not regularly at Horwood this time of year. I was blown away, as were Tyler Brooks, who's been coming up every year for the CFN retreat. He was as blown away as I was seeing the quality of fish. But Jerry brought in a 25, also a 25 and a half. But it was actually the 25 that won. And what's really interesting, and I'll explain it real quick, we had to get you to take a picture of it, like we do with the CFN Fish Off. The only, I would say, added bonus or added item that we wanted in the picture was a clothespin. And these clothespins worked for a number of reasons. We wanted to make sure that we kept everybody safe. So at the end of the night, we threw it in a bowl to make sure everybody was back in camp. The next morning, we then used those same clothespins to draw names for random prizes, and there were some wicked random prizes that were given away. And then, of course, for the identification of fish, just to, everything's on the honor system, but just to make everything on the up and up. But what was really cool is Andre caught a 25 and a half inch walleye. But in the rules, you have to stay and remain at the CFN retreat to the extent to win your prize. So Andre was told, unfortunately, he would have to fit his 25 and a half inch walleye to the next winner, which then was Tyler Brooks. And Tyler Brooks had a beautiful 26 and a half inch walleye. The unfortunate thing, there was no clothespin in the picture. We're going to share the video. We're going to share all the drama so that you guys see it. But Jerry, unsuspectingly, thought he was coming up in third place, ended up winning the walleye event with a 25-inch walleye. But congratulations to both Andre and, of course, Tyler for catching fish even bigger. It was cool. Very cool. But some awesome people. Of course, Dean Howard, absolute pleasure to fish with this gentleman. If you guys want to invite someone along that is just going to be a lot of fun to be around, these two, Walt and Dean, top shelf, absolutely top shelf individuals. And we are very happy to have them a part of our community. I'd like to think they had a fairly good time. There's our buddy Mitch. When it comes to pictures, and I was going to share some of his, but he was recognized and was given accolades from a local, I think it was the local paper, about some of his photography prowess. And he takes absolutely wicked shots. I invite you to go over to Mitch Bolduck's page and have a look at some of the shots from the CFN retreat. Absolutely breathtaking. I don't know what camera he's using, but my word, it is beautiful stuff. And then, of course, some newbies that showed up. We had 2 cabins actually full of 8 different people we've never had to the CFN retreat. It was awesome to see. Tim Mason was the ringleader of cabin 8. You had Sean, Rob, and Eli in there. Rob managed to catch, congratulations to Rob, he managed to catch a 30-inch walleye. But it is notable to mention that Sarah, Tyler's wife, also caught a 30-inch pike. But unfortunately, even though it had the clothespin, Sarah and Tyler neglected to take the prize for the biggest pike. She just wanted her name mentioned. So what we did in the very end Okay, folks, I tell you, this is so friggin' frustrating. I hate not having good Wi-Fi. I absolutely hate it. And I don't know what it is about this hour. I apologize profusely for all those who are still watching. To froze time. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Sorry to everyone. This is absolutely frustrating not having good Wi-Fi. And it happens every single time at this time. I don't know what it is, but there's a huge influx of demand on our street. And for whatever reason, we can't compensate. Let me try this again. All right. So here we are. Beautiful morning, typical morning at Camp McIntosh. Of course, this was the 6th annual CFN retreat. We have this every year. Row was a delight, as I mentioned. I see in here. Thank you, Tony. Walt made his rounds. That's our good buddy Bob, who was in cabin 1, along with Jerry, who I mentioned won for biggest walleye at 25 inches. Of course, notables were Andre and Tyler, who caught a little bit larger, but unfortunately didn't have either the clothespin in place or unfortunately weren't at the event to claim the prize. But Rob, who caught the 30-inch, congratulations to you. Pauline and Tom, these were gems, just great people. You ever get a chance to hang out with Pauline and Tom? And of course, Jamie and Richard. I got to back up here for a second because those two there. Oh, hold on. Let me get it right there. Those two are two of the funniest guys to be around. And the guy in the middle doesn't even mean to be. He's just funny. Richard is a hoot. He comes across very professional on Facebook, very, very professional, I'm sure, in his conversations. But man, can this guy have a good time. Richard is an absolute gem to be around. And Jamie, you are his yin to that yang. So big shout out to Jamie. Of course, as I said, I can't thank all the people that came up to this event, but the characters that did just made it that much more special. And of course, as I said, last but not least, our good buddy Tyler. He's been coming up every year to the CFN retreat, and he's always been a helpful hand, either when if it has to do with cleaning fish, cooking fish, giving advice, pointing people in the right direction to catch fish. He's been a huge part of our CFN retreat. His entire family has, but we awarded them, as I mentioned, if you didn't hear, we had asked all the anglers to put just one piece of tackle and make it something that if a friend, brother, or a neighbor that you like came over and said, I need to go fishing, but I'm not doing very well catching fish. Give them something that will work. And Tyler does a lot of great things for kids and some of the kids events that he's associated with. So I know those prizes will be in the hands of a lot of kids. But big shout out to Tyler. Just he was not there for the hardware. He was it was just bragging rights, if anything. So big shout out to Sarah, who did catch and matched Rob's 30-inch pike, but deferred to give it to Rob, who was a new visitor to our CFN community in the CFN retreat. So big shout out to the Brooks family for their generosity. Now, that is Doris, and this lady can cook. That's all I could say. This lady can cook. This is just one of the many. This is a typical breakfast, right? You show up, you've got cereal, pancakes, French toast, you name it. And then, of course, these are the dinners. And that mac and cheese that you see up there on the left, those are smoked ribs. Not something you would see normally at a retreat. And this, although it was a pain in the arse, I believe, for Warren and Doris to put together, these Taco Tuesday that we had, madon, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, lots of desserts. This is not a place you want to go if you're going to lose weight. That's all I can say. Horwood Lake Lodge is not a place you want to go to lose weight. And of course, you can see the cooker in the background. So we always had a fish fry every night. That's where everybody gathered. And of course, the kids had somewhere to swim at the ramp. So it's child friendly, to say the least. So if you're thinking of bringing your kids, and then, I forgot about that. Santa made a visit. Our good buddy Bruce from Ugly Boys Baits decided that we were going to do a CFN Christmas theme at Horwood, and we managed to get some video together. So stay tuned for that. But this is really cool because the kids, as you can see, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So we gave out some prizes. And Charles and Pat, we gave 3 of the bags that you guys donated to CFN to these young kids. So 3 of the bags were spoken for by Rowan Tyler and George there in the background. But big shout out to Bruce for doing that, because he put that suit on one of the hottest nights. And of course, we always gather around for the fire. We tell all kinds of fish stories, as you can well imagine. This was my favorite picture of the whole weekend. Absolutely loved that pic. And everybody that came, again, I can't thank you enough. You truly mean the world to me, and I can't thank you enough for your support, your kindness, because I will say this: 30 people went up to Horwood, and I say it every year, but it's the darn truth. 30 people went up to Horwood and showed the world how to act. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that. I want to bring in Yvonne next, but I want to do so. And before I do so, I want to share a video from our sponsor. Yvonne's coming up right after this.
Oh, there's one right there. That's a good one too.
Yvonne is in the house. How are we doing tonight, Yvonne?
I'm great, Scotty. How are you doing?
You know what? I am well charged, well refreshed, and it was a typical Monday for me coming back after a week-long vacation. I'm sure everybody can concede that they've had Mondays like I just did after being off for a week, but nonetheless, it's fun to get back at her, and it's great seeing you. And of course, you've got some great announcements that we're going to be talking about tonight. So
Well, just a couple. I just wanted to let everybody know about this Intro to Muskie event that we're holding. It is on September 28th. It's a Saturday. It'll be up at, It'll be up at Scotson's Point Cottage, and that's in Buckhorn. So as you can see there by the promo, there are 2 prices, a member price of $45 or a non-member price. And we have done this in partnership with the Kawartha Lakes chapter of Muskies Canada for, I don't know how many years now, but they're great guys. We're going to have, by the sounds of it, it's going to be 10, possibly 11 boaters. 2 ladies go out with each boater, and then we have 2 shifts. Muskie fishing, if nobody's tried it, it can be quite physical, especially if you're casting. So we think like 3.5 hours is more than enough when you're just learning. All of the equipment is provided by the volunteers, so you don't really have to bring anything unless you have like a special lure that you would like to try out. We have a huge barbecue lunch in the middle of the 2 shifts, as well as an awesome raffle table. This year's event is being held in memory of Jeremy Foote. He has been a volunteer for this event for a number of years. He was an avid angler. For those who don't know, he passed earlier this year. And what we'll be doing as well is part of whatever we raise, we'll be making a donation to the Canadian Mental Health Association in his name. His wife, so his, I don't know if I guess I sent her the link to Megan, and she was a little teary, like happy tears, to see that we were doing this in his name. And we've had some brief conversations, but it looks like she's going to come and volunteer on the day. So we're really happy that she's going to be joining us. Yeah, so I think Steve has put the link up. So if any of the ladies, members or non-members, are interested in joining, we'd love to see you. It's a fantastic opportunity to learn how to musky fish, because I mean these guys from Kawartha Lakes, they're not musky guides, but they are experienced musky anglers, and they will teach you how to handle fish, proper hook removal, the proper tools that you need. Like the nets are different than if you're going out, say, bass or walleye fishing. Yeah, they provide all the lures and whatnot. So, if you've never musky fished, if you don't have the equipment and you'd like to give it a try, this is an excellent opportunity to do that with a mentor that will show you the ropes.
That's awesome. Now, did I happen to see John Anderson's picture in that as well, in that photo? I'm dying to know how he's doing. I thought one of the photos was him looking down with a ball cap. I'm not really sure.
Oh, no, that's Robert Sterling.
Oh, okay.
St. Croix.
Okay. Right on.
And I think that, yeah. So it was Linda Gallus, I think, who was holding the fish. He was on she was on his boat for one of the shifts. But it is a lot of fun, and we have 20 spots open, or 20 spots in the morning and 20 spots in the afternoon. So as it stands now, we only have 2 left for the morning, and we have 13 for the afternoon. So if anybody's interested, particularly in a morning spot, please sign up sooner than later. And you can go to that link and find out any other information that I haven't touched upon.
Right on. Now, of course, we were scheduled to do it. Well, I got the dates wrong. I said the 12th. I meant the 19th. So poor you and Lorianne were sitting around waiting for me to call you. And I was up at Horwood. But event that was brought to me when I was up dealing with the Elliott Lake Fishing Derby with my good buddy Charles and Pat. I stopped in on the way home because I had heard that there was a sign that I could not miss. So I made sure I took a picture of it. But there's something happening pretty cool at this lodge. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Yvonne?
I don't have all the details. Lorianne Horst is more involved with this event. But Waterfalls Lodge is holding a ladies' weekend. I believe it's September 20th to 22nd. And Steve had just put a link up there too, which is great. Some of the details are there, and Teresa is our contact person at the lodge, so she's going to be coming on to CFN Live next week with Lorianne and myself and you.
100%. Can't wait. Looking forward to that. Any other events that are coming up? Like you old UAA ladies have been very, very busy, but when does it really start to wind down, or does it?
Yeah, well, let's see. September. We just had our Gals and Pals tournament on the weekend. We did it over 2 days. Like you could fish Saturday, Sunday, or both days if you wanted to. The first, second, and third entries were all master angler size fish, which means 20. They're bass 20 inches or more. So someone's earned a master angler pin. Yeah, we had I think 15 or 16 teams. So that's it's a popular one because you can bring your spouse, your friend, another member, your sister, whatever. So coming up is, I think we're having a kayak event at Long Point. That is in September. Then we also have, it's sold out, but we have our fall weekend. That's going to be also at the Scotsman's Point on Buckhorn. It's on the same weekend as the event, the muskie event. So if you sign up, actually it's sold out. So for those who have signed up, if they want to do the muskie event, they'll get $10 off. And I have a special promo code that they can apply to the registration.
That's awesome.
Then,
really cool.
Speaking on the topic of muskie, we don't have any details out yet, but I just wanted to mention that we do have our Christmas event on November 30th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be held up at the Mario Cordellucci Hunting and Fishing Heritage Center in Peterborough, which is adjacent to the OFAH building. And Lisa Goodyear. She is going to be our guest speaker. So continuing along the theme of muskies, she's going to talk about her experience with muskie fishing and of being a female fishing guide. And she has been on this show as well.
Yep, 100%. Love Lisa. I don't know how she's coping, taking the overflow from John Anderson, who I'm hoping is doing very well. Haven't had a chance to reach out to find out lately how he has been doing, but Lisa is a soldier, and if there was anybody capable of doing it, it's definitely her. So
yeah,
big shout outs of just a show of support for Lisa for taking that on, because that was a lot to take on. But needless to say, I can't think of anybody better to do it. But that's cool, very, very cool. And of course, just to get back to next week's CFN Live, I don't know all the details, and I have said to Teresa, when it comes to the details of some of the prizes that are given out at bingo night and a few other special evening events that go on, all I can say is I was red in the face. I was embarrassed. I had to go. I needed a cold shower. No, I'm just kidding. It sounded like a lot of fun. And I'll tell you, if you're a lady that loves to hang out with other lady anglers that have the same passion as you and likes to have a good time, I think the place you want to go, because it sounded like an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, I wish I could go. Lorianne will be there.
That's cool. And I believe she is one of the keynote speakers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Herself and another lady from the Canadian Sportswomen Society. I'm headed to Wisconsin the first weekend of October. I'm a member of the Wisconsin Women Fish Group as well. I think I've been with them, I want to say 8 years, maybe 8-9 years. And I've been to a few events. So Fish Camp, as they call it, is held in the fall. That's kind of like their year-end event. So I haven't seen the ladies in 7 years, COVID and then family commitments. So I'm really looking forward to making the drive to Wisconsin. It's about 15 and a half hours of driving. So I have to stay overnight on the way, but it's another great group. And Barb Carey, of course. And
you know what? Given the situation that she's in right now, I have to take a moment and just tip a hat to her. Buying a boat of that size for anyone is an endeavor in itself. But to do it the way she's doing and taking us along for the journey.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. She's looking forward to spending the time with her and some of the other ladies that I haven't seen in years. So, that's going to be a great trip.
Right on. Well, Yvonne, we look forward to seeing you again next week with Lorianne and, of course, Teresa, who I will say now is she could be talking about anything, and you're going to be laughing your hat off.
She's a character.
She's a hoot. Thanks, Yvonne. I appreciate you spending some time with us tonight and getting us caught up. And again, I apologize for last Monday. We made it up this Monday, and we will hit it out of the park next Monday.
Okay. You're very welcome, Scotty. I'll see you soon. I'll see you at the Woodstock show. Amen.
Can't wait. Looking forward to that. All right. As always, a pleasure to have Yvonne here. And as she mentioned, there is the Made in Canada Tackle Swap Marketplace coming up at Woodstock. It is going to be the 22nd of September. But here's the best part. The night before, we are making arrangements to have a bit of a social. And the idea is we're going to hopefully have a pig roast in the parking lot. So those who are setting up on the Saturday night will be fed. We're looking forward to getting some more of the details on that. We're going to be ironing those out very, very shortly. We are debating about a few things like, the fireside chat and just how that's going to work with the layout of the building. So we do have a couple hurdles to still get over. Brad and I will be talking about it tomorrow to finalize the details. But needless to say, if you show up Saturday to set up your booth, you will be treated to a nice social. And of course, all the volunteers that help set things up on the Saturday will as well. Accommodations, I've managed to source an Airbnb that sleeps 4, so we can make those details available to all you vendors as well. But again, we look forward to that next event. And of course, a big shout out. Didn't get the chance. Warren and Doris, thanks so much for your hospitality. You guys showed us a great week, as you always do. Love coming to this lodge each and every year, but the CFN retreat just isn't the same if you don't have the right kind of hosts. And Warren and Doris went out of their way, as always, to make sure that everybody had a good time. Upcoming, our next event, of course, is the OFC Nation event. And hopefully you will be joining these savvy characters, or at least some of. As it is right now, it is completely booked, but you will have a chance. If you don't join us at the OFC Nation retreat, there's lots of opportunities to get up to Camp McIntosh and enjoy fishing like this.
Yeah, baby! McIntosh 2023!
Big Jim coming up right after his intro.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
Big Jim McLaughlin.
What's going on?
Well, you know what? I'm thrilled that you're able to join us tonight. I know you had a bit of a
Give me
sneak
the
show
door.
going on.
I came in the door at 20 after.
Incredible, dude. Well, again, your dedication to what we
It was
do
a
every
long
Monday.
day.
Yes, and I don't want to get into any of the detail of it, other than it was a bit of a snake show for you, and I'm glad you managed to survive.
Well, the high point of the day was, oh, by the way, I heard you mention about John Addison's fine. He's back to work.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So glad to hear that.
So I'm driving along today. I covered a lot. I covered half of Eastern Ontario today for anybody but me. But cut a long story short, I'm driving along, and I look off the sleeve of my shirt. I actually had my black hoodie on from the gym.
Yeah.
There's a spider about the size of a toonie hanging off my one of
Oh,
the big dot spiders.
yeah.
So we took care of them.
I
talked to my daughter, who makes fun of me all the time for my love for spiders. And I said to her, yeah, I said, I won. I said, but you know what? I can't find a body anywhere, so I'll have to stop on the side of the road and look, and I couldn't find it.
Holy.
I'm driving home, I'm like this.
Wow.
I'll
Jeremy,
swat him with my hand. That's what I did to him. I swatted him with my hand, but it was funny. Oh, God.
I would have asked the same question. Did you use it as bait? No, I
use this as bait.
Yeah.
Look at I got Marco Bell was here today.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, he was down at Kopi today, so he dropped in on the way up. That's the pain clinic. He goes there because he got blown up in Afghanistan and his knees hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He goes down and gets fixed. God bless him. Thank you, sir. And he's making clear blade
wow.
chatterbaits now.
And these are the weapons of mass destruction, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was really nice. He came down. He brought me a bag of goodies.
Oh, nice.
Hooked us up for the fall.
Nice.
He remembered it was coming up time for our fishing trip, and he said, I know you got bit off like 5 times last year, so I figured you better have a bunch more. Yeah. Mike, thank you too.
That's awesome. Jim, you know more about it than myself, because you were watching it. You were keeping us up to date. But I have to say, I mentioned it at the outset when we first started tonight, but a big shout out to both Corey and Chris Johnson.
Wow.
Corey, who won the event, but Chris, who managed to bring home Angler of the Year. And I am just going to let you take it from there.
Yeah, this is like this, this just puts them as fishing royalty in North America. Not to forget Canada. Canada doesn't even count now. Almost, you know what I mean? It's like so small compared to what they've accomplished.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. It's offside. I know they had a bit of a spat down there amongst a couple of the boys, and it was all sorted out. They had a chat behind the stage after the tournament. They shook hands, bumped shoulders, and it's all good. You know, like all this, it's just one of those things where they show that social media, regardless, you know, forget about it being for fishing. It's absolutely horrible how you can blow something up, and people believe it, eh? Like there was guys on there posting saying that Corey was waiting outside the hotel to beat him up, and like, where do they get, you know, just, and people believe it. And there's guys piling on there, you know, they're ready to drive from Tennessee with sticks and beat him up, you know, like shit like that. And it was just all a great big pile of crap. So they had a spat on the water. I had a buddy of mine that was sitting in a boat, and like he was sitting out in the channel in the St. Lawrence River watching this go down. He said, like, they weren't even close together. He told me 2 weeks ago when he fished in the bait fuel thing, he had guys so close to him that he could have underhand pitched the jig into their boat, and nobody had a problem. You know,
the thing that I said to you this morning when you shared that video, and I saw it, and of course, yeah, I'm sure Corey would probably at this point maybe want to take it back. I don't know, but at the end of the day, regardless of fishing, it's about family. And if your brother or your sister is being accosted or attacked by someone, like, you don't necessarily care what the facts are. You just want to be there to protect, you know, your siblings. And
well, you know what I'm going through right now in life.
100%. So,
Yeah.
like, to me, it's nice to see this still exists, that, you know, you still have this brotherly love that's willing to step up and you know, protect or at least address an issue that
Corey would be the protector.
Yeah.
As he's quick to remind you, he's still the all-time penalty leader for the Peterborough Petes.
So he knows a few things about that. And yeah.
That's spur of the moment.
Yeah. Needless to
I
say.
love
Yeah.
it.
That's awesome. But, you know, going into the tournament, I was, because of your posts, I was seeing the odd time. Did Corey lead this thing from the beginning to the end, or did he have to play catch up?
It was back and forth a couple of times there.
Yep.
And there was a few changes. But, you know, when Chris brought in that 29 after he brought in 27,
Yeah.
after he brought in 21, like that sort of messed with the people's heads, eh? You know, you have arguably the worst day you've had in that body of water, and the next day you bring in over 29 pounds. Like that's close. That's almost a 6 pound average.
That's incredible.
Most people have never caught a 6 pound smallmouth in their life. The vast majority of people that fish have never caught one. You know, I've caught like 20 years ago in the Rideau River on the same weekend, muskie fishing. So it was more than 20 years ago. It's probably like 25 years ago. So that right there to me is epic, because they didn't get this big back then. And I think it was a 712 and a 7.4.
Yeah.
Day after day on the same great big muskie lure.
Yeah.
I mean, they were on a scale. They were weighed on a Ferguson spring scale. Like it's bang on, eh? And then I didn't see a fish, you know, maybe a 5-inch change until maybe 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I got one day out in Lake Ontario that was 712 on a spy bait, which was cool. And it was funny, you know, when I saw it, I looked in the water and I saw it, and I said to my buddy, I said, I bet you that fish weighs 712. He goes, what makes you say that? And I said, because that's the biggest one I've ever caught, and I know the bugger ain't going to be bigger. And it was. We waited. It was 712. He said, I don't believe it. I said, it was just a guess. You know, like.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I probably had, I don't know, maybe 15 over 6, 12 over 6 maybe in my life. So Corey brings in 5 in one day that are all biting at the 6 pound mark. You know, and I'm talking like this is 29 pounds on scales.
Yeah.
In my life, yeah, Corey. Yeah, you got 1 over 6 pounds in your life.
Ed McKenzie said it was a dead tie at the end of the second day. That is remarkable. G had an 11-ounce lead to start day 4. So, yeah, there was absolutely some definite drama there and made it exciting. But, Jim, I was blown away to see that not only Corey won, but that Chris took home Angler of the Year. Like, that is –
and coming from so far back. And the week before, he missed winning by 1 ounce.
Yeah.
Like they could have won, I mean, there's like 100, 100, 200, 255, to just shy of 300 US that they won in the last 2 weekends.
Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
That's scary. You convert that to Canadian money?
Yeah. You're millionaires.
Well, I mean, and they, and they let me get my coin wrappers out and go to the truck. It's the Hortons cup that's half full with change now. No, but yeah, it's really cool though. Like we were talking, a couple of guys that were talking, like they'll be guys were saying, and a lot of guys said the same thing too. And I said they might have to pay some tax in the States if they're not set up, but they would file to get it back later.
Yeah.
So I called Gussie, he was driving home, and I said, hey, I said, what do you guys do now? He said, oh, they got an IRS tax number. So they don't have to worry about it. They don't take the money off. They would get the check paid to them in American dollars. And then he said, then we bring it home to Canada and then we really die. So
interesting.
Yeah. And even here ain't that bad compared to some places around the world.
No. Exactly. And speaking of which, George has mentioned smallmouth bass are getting bigger and bigger. 5-pounders are now more common in most fisheries. And I will say this to my good buddy Walter, who came all the way from Saskatchewan. And right away he said, Scotty, yes, I want to catch walleye. Yes, I want to catch some pike. But I really want that experience I had with smallmouth like I did the last time I was up here. And you would have been proud of this fish he caught. It was an 18 and change smallmouth, big for that body of water, but really not that big for that body of water because most people who catch them, 3 pounds is kind of the entry level of the weight. But I said, Jim will be so proud of you knowing that you came all this way to catch your personal best smallmouth. Yeah. So big
like I told you, like when Rocky and I fished together, it's like 20, 25 years ago now, we wouldn't target smallmouths because if we did get them and they were hard to get, 4-pounder was a giant.
Yeah.
And I told you, we've talked about this a million times. When I won the second classic and I brought the one in that was just under 6, people were freaking in Aurelia.
Yeah.
Like I said before, you catch a 6-pound smallmouth in Simcoe now, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's just not it's just changed. When I talked to Bruce Tufts there the last time we were out fishing, and he told me a lot of this has to do with the slight change in temperature of the lake. The water warmed up a touch over the last 20 years or so, and that little change, he believes, is what's responsible for it.
Well, he's not alone because as Jeremy has asked, would that be because of food sources or natural progression? Yeah. And George,
I'm sure.
Longer growing season has tipped the balance, and those introduced foreign species have really helped.
Yeah, that's why the Great Lakes have gone wild because they got the gobies. And I mean, I've watched smallmouths. I watched off behind the Great Ducks, the Main Duck Islands. I watched there one day. There was a day we went out there. It was just before COVID, and the water was like your bathtub. Like, I mean, you could have paddle boarded out to the Main Ducks in like Ontario.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was that calm. And I was watching what we believe were steelhead, or else they were small salmon. But I don't think small salmon would be up in 5 feet of water. I didn't think steelhead would be there either. But it was early in the year, so the water's still cold. And they were nose down to the bottom like this, going along. And you just see them go. And they'd go nose down, they'd follow. The gobies would come off the bottom, and they'd just start and grab them. And I'm standing in the boat. I'm just watching this, and I'm just in awe. Just in awe.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, it's a really easy food source for them. They have no energy expended to eat. Before they used to have to chase something. They used to have to fight with something. I mean, they still eat lots of other things. I mean, when a smallmouth is scrounging along the bottom and he sees a nice big crawfish come by, well, he doesn't go, "Oh, I can get a goby." Well, he's eating that.
100%.
Yeah, it's what it is. And like the fact that they have claws doesn't make a difference.
Nope.
That's why I often you always hear me people talk about soft plastic, and it has to be really soft so the fish don't let it go. Well, what do you think happens when a smallmouth eats a crayfish or a sunfish? You ever hold a sunfish? Sometimes it's a death-defying thing just to keep a hold of one to get the hook out of it because of the spines and the bones and everything sticking out of it,
100%. Bob, thanks so much for that link that you did send. We will try to endeavor to get a Monster Monday focus or feature on that. But 9.13 smallie caught on Lake Eagle this weekend as well. Not in the elite, but that is a huge, huge fish. And yeah, Attila, you're 100% right. If the smallmouth are getting bigger, so are the perch, and so is everything else. So, and it is definitely that time for Cisco's, and we saw that on full display at Horwood. Holy smokes!
They've been eating those there forever.
Yeah, but it was amazing to see the number of Cisco's. It's sort of in the back bay, not to mention on your screen, the forage. It was incredible. Horwood's just
the fish don't bite. There's too many minnows.
Not from where we were sitting. They were a little bit harder to catch, which is interesting. Jim, I wanted to mention this to you. So typically this time of year, we go up to Horwood. We're targeting anywhere between, say, 21 to 28 feet as the line to where the walleye or the active walleye are going to be. Not this year. If you weren't in 30 plus feet of water, you weren't playing with walleye. You weren't playing with anything. It was really interesting how one year, or this year in particular, has been this different. Pike in a back bay that Tyler and I both know that holds a lot of pike. You catch one or two. They just weren't there. This was the fascinating thing for me. And I asked Tyler, I think we were in the second or third day in. On the graphs, you would spot the walleye school at the bottom, as you always would. And then there'd be this big streak that would come across at the 10-foot mark. So if you're in, say, 30 feet of water, this thing would be coming across. It was like those, the old Frogger game, Jim? That old video game Frogger? All the walleye, a few tractor trailers, a bus, and then this big pike come across. It was unreal. And you try to coax that pike, not happening. The only time it would bite is when you were reeling up a walleye. So I hate to say this, Jim, and you might want to close your ears, but the fish have gotten smart and they know how to get a free lunch. So it was kind of
for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I said it, and I'm so glad we have some separation here.
Well, they really get locked on food sources too, eh?
Yes, and
they get locked. Like Gord Pizer had that example of that with the pike way up in northern Manitoba. There's these big giant leeches in this lake that they went to, and they're like, when they swim out, they're like 8-9 inches long, and the fish gulls were so hyped on those that he couldn't catch them on anything, and he put on a great big black twister tail away, because it looked like what they were feeding on, and they couldn't catch them on all the traditional things that they're using, big giant flukes, 8-9 inch long flukes, unweighted, just twitching them on single strand leaders so they're really lively and look real and everything. Yeah. They just sort of meander, and these are big fish. These are, probably 32, 34 inch plus fish up to like 45. And they just sort of swim up and have a look and go away. And immediately, as soon as he rigs on a 6-inch back twister tail, one after the other.
100%.
They're locked on eating leeches. Yeah.
Sparkus was asking what the temperature was, and typically, to see this kind of result, Sparkus, I would have said the same thing, or I would have questioned the same thing. What are the water temperatures? Were they in the 80s to drive them that deep? They weren't anything out of the ordinary. This time of year, they're anywhere between, I want to say 74 and 78 degrees.
Well,
It
that's on the
fluctuates.
surface, right?
What's that?
That's the surface.
That's just the surface. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same down below as it always is when you're there, probably. Wouldn't be
Yeah.
any
So,
different.
so in terms of temperature, we didn't have any way to properly map that. But yeah, it didn't seem like temperature was the issue. But who knows? I don't know. The forage base was shallow. We were seeing Cisco's deep, which may have driven the bigger fish deep too. I don't really know, but the smaller eating size walleye, they were typically eating, I guess, a few Cisco's, but primarily, you believe this or not, Jim, they were eating crawdads. They were eating crayfish. Incredible to see the amount of crayfish that were
Well,
spit
see, now
up.
they're probably pretty shallow.
Yeah.
They have to go shallow to get those. That's like, a long time ago, a buddy of mine kept a lake trout out of the big Rito that got deep hooked in the throat.
Yeah.
He tried to let it go a couple of times, came back to the top, and he calls me, he said, I got a lake trout. I don't know how to fillet it, So I went over and we did it together, whatever.
Nice.
And I didn't want to eat it, but I let him have it. And it was this fish anyway. And there was sunfish this big in its belly.
Wow.
Like lots of them. So I don't think that lake trout found those sunfish down in 55 feet of water where he was caught.
I'd like to think not.
Somewhere he had to come up, because I don't think sunfish that big are down at 55 feet of water. Yeah, I've caught sunfish, the giant ones that I've caught on the big Reno I talked to you about, they come up to the high 20s. They come out of the high 20s. That's where they live. They're giant fish, and that's where they live their life. But to have all these little guys in them, they had to swim up there at night in the dark or whatever. They had to go there to get, they had to go shallower, right? So
True enough.
it's kind of cool.
It is. Jim, what have you got upcoming this week? I know you're busy, and
I'm running this week doing stuff, and Tammy's got there's all kinds of family crap going on, and Tammy's got a quilt thing, and because we only have her car, we lent the car to the oldest daughter, and so I got to drive her back and forth to Brockville every day to quilting, and I didn't go to the gym today, so I'm a little needed to get a little loosened up there. But anyways, I'll get there tomorrow, and I gotta get over to Cornwall, the tight lines. I got a box of jigs sitting here for them, and I always like to go over there and peruse all the new stuff he imports from the Orient. Yeah, he orders all the Jackal stuff. He talked to Lee, and Lee told him, go ahead if you want, and he buys all the Jackal stuff that Jackal doesn't bring to North America.
Is that right?
They have in Japan. Yeah, some of it's really well. One of the things that he had that they were having a hard time getting was these things here, the drip fries.
Oh, okay.
That's the plastic that's got the lip on it that looks like a crankbait.
Okay, yeah.
You see it in there?
Absolutely.
There was 2 or 3 major tournaments in the States won with these. So he brought 144 bags of those in the store, and I bought the last one when I was there. I saw it I said, oh, did you just get this as a sample and you're selling it or something? He goes, no, we bought 144. That's the last one. Look at all these bags. Guys just came and took bunches. Hey, that's the power of tournament victories. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
See ya, Tilla. Go catch a fish.
Go catch a fish. And yes, they are definitely money. But those
they're
new
$19.
Oh.
For 5 baits. But I'll show you. They're absolutely incredible.
What size are they? 4 or 5 inch, Jim?
Yeah, there's 2 different sizes. I got the 5.2.
Okay.
But come in a special little box to keep them happy,
Yeah.
But they're you never think of checking weight on plastic, besides having the greatest colors in the world. Like, look at the colors on those.
Oh, yeah.
They're absolutely incredible. See the tail?
Yeah.
Straight up and down, but you turn it sideways, it looks like fish. It's got the eyes, but it's all plastic, eh? It's all plastic. And it's you wouldn't believe how heavy this is.
Really?
You could fish this on an 1/8-ounce jig in the quarry.
Wow.
In the honey hole. That's how heavy this is. Just really heavy. And it's thick, strong, but look at it. It just folds up.
Wow.
It's soft, but it holds. But they fish it on a ball jig head, and that lip, when they move it, they drop shot them, and they work. They're tough as heck, tough as heck, though guys get to use them. So I'm getting
I'm
cheap
with you.
nowadays. So I'm keeping my 5 there.
I'm with you, Big A. Take my money.
Yeah, I got my bag of jigs. I'm ready to go.
Right on, Jim. Well, listen, with everything going on in your life and everything that you're dealing with, we want to thank you for spending some time with our CFN family and making it tonight. We missed you the last couple of weeks because we weren't on, but we've totally redeemed ourselves.
So every once in a while I mess around. So I found a couple of flipping jig heads in a box somewhere, and they were there. And I went, "Ooh, I have to put something on those." So I tied this up like a flipping jig, but I filled it up with bucktail first. Look at the way it stays like plump, and
it's very full. Yeah. It reminds me of those gowns that the women wore back in the 1800s.
Do tell.
Well, I don't know too much about it other than what I've seen in movies, but
what kind of movies?
Well, if they're wearing the dress, it's not the kind of movies you're thinking of.
Oh, Fashion Week. Do you watch Fashion Week movies?
Yeah, Fashion Week. Yeah, back in the 1800s, it was a big one. It was something you had to tune in on Sundays to watch. But yeah, that's interesting.
Mike always gets a kick out of it. We watch this show. It's not Game of Thrones, but it's a thing that is on now. That's like got something to do in the time era, but it's in the time before the Game of Thrones. But the way they do these things with movies and series, and it's confusing. I just sit and watch because I have a thing for women in Victorian gowns and that. So I missed that period in life. So what the heck? I'm having a second life here.
Well, we're having a second life together, Jim, and it's an
I'm
honor to share with you.
I can do whatever I want now.
All right.
Now, say whatever you want. If anything
before
happens,
we have to change the rating on this show from family friendly to R-rated.
To really friendly.
Yeah.
Get out of here before I'm in trouble. Go catch some fish, you bunch of filthy animals.
All right, buddy. You take care of yourself, Jim. Thanks for your time, man.
Hey, we got to talk real soon about the fall out here.
Okay, we'll do 100%.
Special thing for somebody.
Okay, we'll do, my friend. Looking forward to it. We got Lawrence Gunther coming up right after this. Thanks, Jim.
Be good.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
There he is. Lawrence Gunther is in the house.
I am, buddy. I'm in the house, and hopefully reach another houses with actual moving video and everything. What do you think? Am I moving?
Yeah, absolutely. You are. You're moving. Your audio's fantastic. Your producer has hit it out of the park yet again this Monday. We've missed you the last couple of weeks, Lawrence, and we know you've been busy. Probably, what have you been busy up to? Like I can't even begin to imagine that you've got it down to like 3 things. I'm sure you got like a dozen things on the go.
Oh man, I've been trying, buddy. I've been trying, but I had a 4-day meeting. Well, no, 3-day meeting north of Kingston at the Queen's University Biological Research Station, and it was a group of 5 professors and 5 PhD students and me, and we're talking about a project we're trying to get together, a 4-year project called Blue Justice on the Great Lakes. So what is Blue Justice? Yeah, Blue Justice, man. And it's all about, recreational fisheries, small scale fisheries, indigenous fisheries, and where are the justice issues involved? And we'll have another conversation about that. I don't want to get into this tonight, and I don't want to tip my hat too much on this, but I definitely want to sort of bounce some ideas off you guys about Blue Justice. And I've got another Blue Justice kind of story, though, for today we're going to talk about in a little bit, but not related to the Great Lakes and not related to that meeting. So it was a good meeting, and squeeze that in addition to our usual 3-day, 4-day stay at the Bluefish Exploration Center every week. So we go up there every week for 3 to 4 days and supervise what's going on up there. Our accessible dock system is fully installed. We had it installed, but I wasn't satisfied with the ramp. So we added a second 16-foot section of ramp. So we have 32 feet of 4-foot wide ramp with railings on both sides, leading to a 8-foot wide dock that's 48 feet long.
Holy smoke!
You can party out there, buddy. You can have yoga out there. You can lie on the dock and look up at the stars with nothing in your way on the total black nights. It's a real asset, to have a dock of that size. And we got a few boats to tie up to it too, and some kayaks and such. But we wanted to make something that, two wheelchairs should be able to pass each other, going in different directions comfortably, without one feeling like they're being squeezed off the edge of the dock, right? So 6 feet wouldn't quite do it.
No, and good on you for a person that has a vision disability. You still know what you want. You may not be able to see it like the rest of us, but you can see it in a way that a lot of us can't. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty unique.
I put it together, it was my, I think I did myself proud on that one, and lots of good help around as well to bring it to fruition. But it was my idea, and people thought, well, holy mackerel. But anyways, it worked out really well, and things are coming along up there nicely. This week, it's a bit of a busy week too. Got some reports that need to be handed in. A Bluefish Radio podcast to edit. Got a bunch of podcasts that need to go up. And on Thursday, I have 2 meetings. One is with Parks Canada, the Visitor Experience Advisory Committee. That's our first meeting. Mm-hmm. And then a meeting of the Board of Directors for Save the River. I've just been asked to join as a director on the board there. That's the St. Lawrence River Riverkeeper. Yeah, and so that should be interesting. I love what John Peach and his crew are doing there. That's just fantastic around education and fighting for Blind Bay. They're not afraid to fight, and they're not afraid to do great work and ask for donations. And they've got the whole community supporting them on their advocacy side and their education side. Just a classy act. So happy to be proud to be part of that as a new director there. And then Saturday, the Overlander is having their annual gathering at Calabogie Peaks. And I've been asked to give a keynote speech there on sustainability and accessibility. And in exchange, we're going to have a whole bunch of these Jeeps come out to the Bluefish Exploration Center and take a group of kids with disabilities on some off-road trail exploration and a shore lunch and a bit of fishing, just get some kids, some blind kids in the back of those Jeeps bouncing around on those off-road logging trails. It should be a lot of fun.
And it does sound like a lot of fun. And I really hope whoever it is that decides that they want to do it, realize what they're getting into, because if you just saw Lawrence's smirk, he knows exactly what they're getting themselves into.
Oh man, you know what? Look, I've got flown in gliders. I've done parasailing, a bunch of stuff like that. And if it's not rocking and rolling, if it's not whipping about, I'm bored. And I know I'm not the only blind person that feels that way. You've got to be moving. Otherwise, it's just a visual experience for those who are sighted. And for those who aren't, it's a nap.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, before we move on, because I do know that you have a topic that you desperately want to talk about, Jeremy has asked, and I didn't even hear about this, any thoughts on the so-called doomsday fish, measured in around 12 feet long, that was found floating last week? He believes off the coast of California. Anything, you got anything on that? First I heard.
But I'm going to have to dig that one up now. Thanks, you guys. That's an interesting lead. I'm making a note right now, doomsday fish.
That's okay. Interesting. Yes, handy capable, not handicapped, Jeremy. And you're speaking to the poster boy of that right now as we speak. And of course, if you missed this podcast or any other podcast, you can go to Bluefish Radio and got caught up with all of the other podcasts that our good buddy Lawrence has either done with CFN or some of the other notable guests that he's had on. But go to Alexa, go to Siri, and just type in what is the latest on Bluefish Radio, and you'll get caught up. There is a vast library of podcasts that Lawrence has done. we could probably chain him to a chair, but I still think he'd find his way to get out. He's a busy man. So with that being said, what is the hot topic that you wanted to talk about tonight?
Yeah, buddy. So look, the first thing I want to talk to you about, and the focus on my news items today and the conversation is on Atlantic Canada, big game sport fishing. There's a lot of amazing opportunities out there, and I don't think we respect it enough. I mean, we think about fishing for marlin down off some coast of Cuba or sailfish down in Guatemala, but we don't think about and tarpon off the coast of Florida. But there are some amazing fishing opportunities off the coast of Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick, and I thought, let's go over these because I got a news release. I was reached out by someone from Ecology Action Center. It's located in Nova Scotia, and they're working with the Nova Scotia Swordfish Harpoon Association to turn the harpoon fishery that's gone on for over 100 years, where they harpoon swordfish that are basking in near the surface to speed up their digestive process and metabolism, and they spear these fish. But now they want to say, look, it's getting tougher and tougher to find these fish because the ocean surface temperature is getting warmer. So the fish don't have more opportunities to find places where they can find warm water to increase their metabolism, and therefore they have more places to hide or just hang out, and they're harder to find by these harpoon fishers. And it's been going on for over, like I said, over 100 years. But they're saying, hey, look, maybe instead of harpooning them, maybe if we bring some recreational anglers out with us, they'll want to catch them down deep, 200-300 leagues or whatever down below the surface, and have an opportunity to bring in one of these swordfish. And so they'll both be able to catch the fish and sell the fish as a commercial fisher, plus, take a recreational angler out as a charter and give them the opportunity to catch one on a fishing rod. Now, who wouldn't want to do that?
Well, yeah, I would much rather hook it than spear it. And I don't know if I'm just speaking for most recreational anglers, but yeah, I know it was part of our culture. And are First Nations still harpooning swordfish at this point?
It's mostly just lobster fishers between seasons, right? That's what they do with their lobster boats when they don't have anything else to go after. And I learned about this 15, 20 years ago. I was talking to a fisher off Ingonish, the northwest coast of Cape Breton Island. And we were talking about, what do you do in the summer? Take tourists out mackerel fishing. And he said, when we're not fishing for lobster, he said, we put some money, fuel in the boat and take the harpoon and the float and the rope. And we just drive around and look for a swordfish that's near the surface, just soaking up the sun. And we try to spear it. And I said, how why do you do that? He goes, well, if you get one, it's like getting the jackpot, like thousands of dollars, but you're spending $200, $300, $400 worth of fuel every day you do this. This was 15 years ago, right? So, you're paying every day to go out there and look for these fish. And then he said, if you see one, you have to figure out which way is it facing, and then you have to sneak up behind it with your boat very quietly, and you have to successfully harpoon it. Then you have to chase it down because it's pulling the rope and then the float, and then it finally dies. And you have to hopefully, it doesn't lose the float, doesn't get off the spear point, and then you have to get it aboard. So there's a lot of steps involved to make a successful catch there. And he said, but the payoff was just so amazing. It was so amazing. So they're hoping, they can go out now, take a couple anglers, charge them for a fishing trip, say off the southern coast of Nova Scotia. They have to sail out for 10 to 14 hours in one direction to get where these swordfish are hanging out. And then they spend 4 or 5 days out there looking for them to spear. But they said, you could drop some lines down, like, wicked tuna, right? They drop a couple lines down and they look on the sonar and they have a couple baits down there. They want to do that for swordfish. and then be able to reel them up and spear them and get them into the boat and sell them and charge an angler for that 5-day experience $10,000. 10 grand. And if they could do that, 2 anglers a ride, they do 3 5-day trips a season, they could make $60,000. And they say just the fishery alone, the ones who are interested, it would bring in another $2.5 million into these small communities. So it's not small chump change, right? I mean, it helps. And they so Ecology Justice Center, they did the research and they looked at what people are willing to pay to go fish for bluefin tuna and off the coast of the east coast of the United States for large sport fish, and they think that's a reasonable price to ask, $10,000 for the trip. But there's some red tape involved. They have to convince DFO to allow these commercial fishers to become charter boat captains and bring out guests. They've been doing it for 2 years just as an experiment. They've had some scientific licenses granted to them by DFO. A handful of these license holders, of harpoon license holders, to see what it takes to actually catch fish. Can you catch them? How long does it take to catch one? What's the success rate and all of that? And the results were promising. And then they have to convince Transport Canada to let them bring some people who know nothing about, commercial fishing onto their boat with them for 5 days. And what does that involve, right? So there's a bunch of hoops to go through there as well.
I can imagine. And that far out from shore, that is like you're out past the Grand Banks, I would imagine at that
You're
point.
on the edge. You're on the edge where the Grand Banks sort of, drop off. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and you're not going to swim back to shore if something happens. You're going to need to learn how to get into a dry suit and how to get into a life raft and how to launch flares and use a satellite radio and all of that stuff to send maydays should something happen. But and bunk with the crew and eat the food. The people on board eat, so you're no special treatment. These aren't luxury boats, so it's a bit of roughing it, and just the waves, right? You got to have your sea legs. So, but
everybody else around you, you're going to work just as hard as the commercial folks on the boat, and you're going to pay 10 grand on top of that.
Yeah, and so they're thinking maybe one way to get around all the rules is just to hire them, just to say, okay, you're officially on the crew as a crew member, and therefore you don't have to deal with all the Transport Canada regulations of being a charter captain. But Transport Canada will get wise to that, right? So they should do it. It's important to get the rules straightened out so everyone's above board. Everyone knows who's responsible for what. Training's done properly. Awareness, what can you do, what can't you do? I mean, this commercial fishing is the most dangerous profession in the world in terms of mortality rate for the professionals, right? There's no other, your chance of dying in any other profession is less than it is than fishing.
Yeah, and I've heard that, and it's mentioned on the Deadliest Catch on a regular basis, how dangerous it is to fish in the Bering Sea. And you see and hear the unfortunate dark side of that type of fishing and that area of fishing on the regular, with some of the boats that are lost, deckhands that are lost, captains that are lost. So I don't know if I'd be in a hurry to do that. Jeremy's he's probably going to start a GoFundMe account right now out there to do it. But in terms of eating those fish, Corey, 100%, they eat the fish that they can. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and those swordfish are delicious to eat. I just didn't realize we were harpooning fish.
Oh yeah, it's been certified by the Marine Stewardship Council as a sustainable way of catching fish, of catching these swordfish for the last 10 years. So here's a few numbers on this. So the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tuna sets the quotas for all the countries that fish for tuna and swordfish in the North Atlantic. And so the international total allowable catch for swordfish every year is just over 13,000 tons. Canada's share of that international share quota is 1,300 tons.
Wow.
The harpoon fishery, there's 184 commercial boats that have harpoon licenses, and they get 10% of that share. So they get 130 tons. They can spear 130 tons of swordfish a year. The other 90% of that Canadian quota goes to those long line boats, right? You know, the Adrian Gale, where they put out 50, 60 kilometers of fishing line and floats and hang below that, maybe 10 meters below those lines, hooks, about 10,000 baited hooks. And they set that line and they let it soak for 6 or 8 or 10 hours. And then they crank it all back in again and, you know, unhook the sea turtles and the sharks and anything else that bit the line, and hopefully some swordfish as well. It's that fishery is less sustainable because of all the bycatch involved in the long line fishery, and yet they get 90% of the quota because it's such an efficient way of fishing, right? So whereas the harpoon fishery is very select, you know, if you're, especially with your harpooning, you're not going to mistakenly spear a shark or a turtle. You know what you're going after. So it's a very select way of fishing and very sustainable way of fishing. You know, so those are some of the numbers involved, but guess the weight of these swordfish.
Well, judging by, you just mentioned, you know, a perfect storm. You know, some of them I saw weighed in were 180 pounds, and some of them were 480 pounds. They get big, these fish.
Oh yeah, they get over 1,100 pounds. 1,100 pounds, my friend. Yeah,
that is a lot.
So you think 130 tons. You know, how much is a ton? 2,500 pounds? I don't even know, but you know,
a metric ton, I believe, is 2,200
pounds.
25. A metric ton, I believe, is 2,500 pounds, and a ton is 2,000 pounds.
Yeah, so 2,000 pounds, and they get you know, that's 2 fish, maybe 3 fish times 130. So they're the whole fishery is only maybe 300 or 400 fish a year. And so it's not a huge fishery, you know, in the big picture of things. But if you could bring in an extra $2.5 million into these coastal communities by bringing some anglers along, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad. And we do have lots of folks that are on the ball when it comes to the metric conversion of tons to pounds. So thanks, folks, for doing that. Appreciate that. But yeah, needless to say, that is a unique fishery, and they're looking to open this up this year or next year.
Next year, they're hoping. Like the research paper's been released. You can go and find it. We'll have some information, but ecology center, it has the report on their website. They have a news release, and all the information we just shared now is on there, plus more. There's no advocacy going on. They're just hoping the DFOs are ready on board. Like, they issued the scientific licenses. They just got to figure out how to get the transport thing going. The Nova Scotia Harpoon Association is in favor of this. They consulted with all the stakeholders, and everyone says, yeah, let's do this. You know, it sounds like a win-win situation for everybody involved, bringing in these tourists into the area. So, you know, it may happen. But this isn't the only incidence of this sort of creative thinking going on. And I was out in Nova Scotia years ago for doing some filming, and the bluefin tuna license holders had a similar sort of test going on with DFO. They have a quota. Each bluefin tuna license holder has a quota at that time of catching 1 or maybe 2 fish per license per year. And I went out with one of these captains in his lobster boat, and we drove out of the Halifax Harbor about an hour and a half. We dropped lines. 20 minutes later, we had a fish on. An hour and a half later, the fish was in the boat, and we were back in the harbor the same day. And they said, that's it. We're done our quota. We're done our fishing for the year. And they say, it's not simple. And then he says, some other people say, can you do my license? Or, I'm too old, but I still have a license. Can you fill my license for me? And, some of these boats will go out 2 or 3 times to fill licenses for other license holders. But then they said, maybe we could get people to pay us for the privilege of reeling in these fish. And they did the same thing with DFO, right? They said DFO, they got the license to do the study, and they turned this into a very successful recreational fishing charter opportunity for recreational anglers to go out and catch a bluefin tuna. And, you're part of the wicked tuna crew and on the Canadian side. And this has been going on for a while now. And I didn't get too far into it, but it seems like it was a successful opportunity to take advantage of a tourism opportunity there, to take advantage of a plentiful bluefin tuna comeback. Like there's bluefin tuna out there. The bluefin tuna population, from what I'm hearing, is doing pretty good.
It is actually, and I'm kind of surprised how well it is doing in light of the fact that some new predators have shown up. And we've seen that posted on Facebook. I think on the regular, a boat I think was attacked just last week in Maine. But yeah, we've got lots of shark critters running around out there that weren't there typically in the past. I mean, I'd like to think that you've always had shark out on the East Coast, but to see the numbers of great white show up would suggest that not only do we see it as a bountiful fishery, but obviously anybody with fins and teeth do too.
Yeah. Well, it was in 1979 that Ken Fraser caught the world record bluefin tuna in the Consul Strait. It was 1,497 pounds. 1,497 pounds. It was over 15 feet long. I interviewed the man, and not long before he died. And I have to find that interview and edit it up. I never did release it, but it was a beautiful man and a beautiful story. I bought his book. He autographed it for me. And but this was, this type of tuna fishing really took off in the 1960s, 1970s. And PEI and Antigonish, Nova Scotia became the 2 hot spots to go to come to catch giant tuna, recreational. And then they had a recreational competition for fishing for bluefin tuna that was brought in sports minded anglers from around the world. They would show up in Nova Scotia to have a chance at catching bluefin tuna on hook and line, right? It brought in people from around the world, people with serious money. And so, having that tapped into by commercial fishers who can do the chartering, and now the swordfish fisheries want to get into that as well. It's just going back to what worked well 50 years ago and saying, hey, let's do this, but let's do it scientifically, and let's do it, strategically, and get some seriously needed money back into the East Coast of Canada by taking advantage of these 2, very huge sport fish, right? Swordfish and bluefin tuna.
And this doesn't seem to me, based on what you've mentioned and shared, it doesn't seem to me to be a political ploy. I know we talked a few weeks back in regards to the cod fishery and expanding the quota for it. It could be argued that is a political ploy. This isn't that.
This has been going on. This is like the swordfish science research started over 2 years ago. The consultations and started before that. This has been going on for 3 or 4 years around swordfish. The bluefin tuna, that started 12 years ago, and that was under the Harper government. So it's about the Department of Fisheries and Oceans trying to work with the coastal communities to generate some wealth in areas of Canada that sorely need it. It's the timing of the announcement sometimes that can be a little bit, sketchy. And the fact that they released this report, now, I mean, they could have waited until next fall, maybe 2 or 3 months before the election. But I don't think there's, I don't know. Look, they did the report. They've done 2 years of research now. Maybe they want to get this sorted out, while they still have a government and a DFO fishery that's looking on this favorably. Maybe they think the winds are in their favor and they want to get it done.
That's interesting. Jeremy's asking a question before you go. Is the East Coast tuna fishing still big for Japanese exports? I believe that it is, but Lawrence is going to answer that better than I.
I'm not. I don't follow commercial fishing that closely, so what happens to the fish after they're caught. I'm not sure. Who's going to pay top dollar for them, where they end up, what markets they go to. I'm not sure. I mean, you watch that wicked tuna and everything seems to be going on a plane packed in ice, but I don't think the best tuna are sent to Japan necessarily. I think some of them end up in Europe, some end up in North America. It all depends on how well the fish look and how, whether they're really good looking fish, or if they look a little sketchy. I'm not sure if they get that, treatment to fly halfway around the world. Right.
Well, Lawrence, as always, dude, you come bearing a wealth of information. We've missed you the last couple of weeks.
Me too, buddy.
Did you want to update us on anything else that's happening this week in the Bluefish Radio or Bluefish Canada world?
No, that's it. We got this interview with the Swordfish communications officer coming out shortly. We've got another interview that'll come out not long after that with the new executive secretary of the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. So there's some work in the pipeline, my friend. It's coming down. Down. Yeah. And last thing I'll just mention quickly is, they've been fishing recreationally for cod since 2006. That's been going on the east coast of Canada. The commercial recreational fishing for cod has been going on since 2006, plus indigenous fishing for cod since 2006 for social, food, ceremonial. So, there's a whole fishery there as well that, recreational, that we don't talk about nearly as enough.
Yeah.
As well as the shark fishing. They have shark fishing tournaments that take place across throughout Atlantic Canada. The Canadian Shark Research Institute collects all the data. Every shark captured has to be measured, the sex identified, the location of the fish that was caught, and it's the species has to be recorded. It all goes into the database. There's a lot of recreational shark fishing going on the East Coast, and people might say, well, sharks are endangered. We have to be careful. I don't think anyone's saying blue sharks on the East Coast of Canada are endangered. There's a lot of blue sharks out there. Maybe you'll have a chance to catch a white shark if you play your cards. I'm not sure if that's allowed, but they have recreational shark fishing out there, and I've done it myself. And with Art Deaton, from Blue Shark Charters, he tests saltwater gear for Shimano, and he's a very ethical angler himself. So there's a lot of great opportunities if you're thinking about taking some holidays out there, and bring your fishing rod, man, bring your wallet.
Absolutely. Lawrence, as always, my friend, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you again next Monday, and keep the news coming, dude. You're doing a fantastic job. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity, man. And keep up the great work yourself, but take some time off once in a while. Holy mackerel, you're pushing yourself hard.
It's going to be busy. It's going to be a busy next couple of weeks. But I'll tell you this, guys like you and the rest of the crew get me through it. So I really appreciate that and all the support that goes along with it. I couldn't do it without you.
Oh, man. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Yeah. Well, you take care and have yourself a great week. We've got Moose and a special guest coming up right after this word.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
And this is Moose.
What's happening? How are you? It's been a long time. It's been a couple of weeks, 2, 3, maybe 4.
It has, buddy. It has, and you know what? I've not forgotten of you, and it's great to see you. I'm glad to see you're with us, and that the sun is shining bright out of your wonderful brand new beard, I must
Yeah.
say.
There's a long story behind that. It has been a busy 4 weeks. My sister's wedding was coming up. My beard was white. Things were not right. So we tried to re-dye and repolish. And in the process, we broke hairs and took out chunks. So I had to go back to being 21 again. I look young and handsome, don't I?
Buddy, you're rocking the 18-year-old look right about now, my friend. Trust me.
Right? It's not as white as it once was. So
You barely
no, funny story.
Vote. You barely look eligible to vote.
Right. Dude, we dyed it just to get rid of the growth that grew in. Like just make it all white again for the wedding. It'd be good times.
100%.
And so yeah, Shannon bleached and did whatever she needed to do. And me being me, I had to play with it. So I moved it around. Next thing I know, it was like I went to go dry my face and hair was just like this, like flying everywhere. And I'm like, oh, my beard, she gone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What have you been busy, or what? I don't even know where to begin. I'm going to let you tell us what you've been busy doing and what you've been up to and what you're going forward with, because I do know that we have a special guest that's with us tonight that you're going to be talking a little bit more about the International Bass Tournament that is going to be held in New Brunswick. So I'll let you take it from there.
Yes. So a lot of things have been going on. There's a bit of a change happening around the world, but good things are coming. Great things are coming. Not a lot that I could talk about, but keep an eye on the next couple of months. Keep an eye on Canada Bass specifically. We're heading to New Brunswick. Everything is in motion. There's 10 or 11 different nations that are going to be there, from China to the US to, I believe, Costa Rica's back on board, or not Costa Rica. South Africa had some issues getting visas and whatnot to travel. Italy, Spain, a couple of First Nations groups out of New Brunswick and Ontario. Some big names from Ontario, some big names from around the world are all going to gather at the end of September. We're going to be in New Brunswick fishing for smallmouth bass. So a couple of weeks ago, I brought Joe Ford on, and he talked a little bit about what was happening and how he got there. It's been a passion and a vision for a very long time, and it's now coming to fruition. So this person that's in, backstage has been there since day one, has done his thing, won multiple tournaments. I'm going to let him explain and speak about his experiences and what he's looking forward to in New Brunswick. So it's not about me. It's about Canada Bass. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome David Chong.
Yeah, baby. There he is. The one and only, the legend himself.
Hey, boys. Hey, Scotty. Moose.
Nice
to
see you both.
And Dave, I know you've been busy. I've seen you out in the water. You had Peter Young the other day and a host of other characters that you take out on a regular. But thank you for allowing us to live vicariously through you, Dave.
I had to get Peter a birthday bass. So
that's right on. That's awesome.
Oh man, I'm starting to think you might have to take me fishing. I'm having a real hard season.
Don't worry, Moose. We talked about this. We're going. You and I will go.
As soon as we find a small opening in our ridiculous schedules.
Yeah. Well, maybe you have to come and pre-fish with us at in the St. John River.
I am so pumped. So I'm actually gonna drive down on the 19th. So I'm gonna be there early while you guys are pre-fishing to set up.
We're showing up on the 19th as well.
Perfect. So I've got some stages and flags and graphics to put up around the venues. You guys need to stay tuned. I'm going to try to post as many videos and behind the scenes type of stuff. But between Adam, the media team, Fish in Canada, there is so much coverage that's going to happen. There is the lives every day. It's almost going to be like, it's going to be good. I'm pretty pumped about it.
It's going to be amazing. It really is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
People in Canada have never seen anything like this. So, even when we held it in Cornwall in 2019, we weren't the organization we are now. And CISA and Canada Bass have grown tremendously since then. And the things and the people we have involved now, the province of New Brunswick, the federal government, the city of Fredericton, the town of Nakawik, just the partners that we now hook up with. It's tremendous to see the kind of support we have for international fishing.
So
Dave, let me ask you, because sorry, you go ahead, Scotty. Go ahead.
I have to ask, and of course, Moose sort of touched on it before we brought you in. And I know you're a man that loves competition, and when it has anything to do with bass, you're right there. But any species of fish,
any species of fish, really, yeah.
But at the end of the day, what drew you to this? Was there something that interested you? You could be a pioneer helping to build this. Where did you see yourself?
Do you want to hear the story from the beginning?
Let's do it.
This is very interesting. So it would be now probably, I'm going to have to say 18, maybe 19 years ago. I forget what year a world championship is this year, but it was like 18 or 19 years ago. And somebody called me up and said, hey, they're thinking of starting this World Bass Championship. And I said, oh yeah, that sounds cool. They're going to hold it in Mexico. And they said, do you want to come and fish on Team Canada? And I said, okay, tell me a little bit about it. Tell me what's involved. What are we fishing for? What are we responsible for, etc. And they said, well, it's the first one, so really, and you're not really fishing for anything other than medals and national pride, and unfortunately, it's all on your own dime. And at that time, I had different priorities when it came to tournaments. I was looking for big money tournaments and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I'll pass this time. Okay. And to be honest, I thought it never went off. I never heard a thing about it. Jump forward 14 years from then, all of a sudden, Scott Martin puts up on his YouTube channel the 14th annual World Black Bass Championship in South Africa. I'm going, are you shit? Oh, sorry. But, I'm going, so they've been holding it all these years. Nobody knew anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. And I follow competitive bass fishing everywhere in the world, and it was crazy until Scott Martin, with his YouTube presence and everything, put it up there. And then since then, in 2018, we started the Pan American Championship, was first held in Okeechobee, and Bob Izumi called me up this time and said, hey, listen, we're on a tight timeline, but do you want to fish with Team Canada again in the Pan Am Championships? And now I'm at a different point in my career. I still am very competitive. I still want to win big tournaments. I want to win any tournament, but things like being able to fish for Canada means a lot more to me today than it did like almost 20 years ago.
Interesting.
And it just, I said, absolutely. I said, yeah, whatever it costs, we'll go do it. And since then I've went and fished in a world championship in Mexico. We're going to Italy this year for the world championship. We've won a Pan American gold in Cornwall in 2019 when we held it here. We were down in Alabama on Lake Hamilton last year, and this year we get to host it in beautiful New Brunswick. And this is going to put New Brunswick on the bass fishing map, honestly, because we've got Scott Martin, we got
the prettier one, yes.
Yeah, we got Jacob Wheeler, we've got Justin Hammer, the classic champion. Wow. We got all the young guns coming, apparently. Trey McKinney.
Most importantly, we have David Chong, Cooper Gallant, Jeff Gustafson. Like, we've got a lineup that's just as good as the U.S. anglers, if not better.
100%. And the thing is, people have to understand that this event is really a true team event. So everybody kind of works together. And I've seen this work for the USA when we were down in Mexico, when we were fishing against them out of Mexico. Leave it up to David Fritz, but he figured out how to get these giant bass that are sitting in the tops of trees in almost 30 feet of water to bite a crankbait as he's going through the tops of the trees.
Yeah.
And he called his other two U.S. teams over and gave them the baits and showed them how to do it. And they literally walked away with the entire event. The battle for everybody else was for silver. They were walking away with gold. And that's what makes this very unique, and there are individual pair medals, but the most important one is the country medal. And the fact that when we won in 2019, and we honestly beat the U.S. by the slimmest of margin, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you win by 1/10 of an ounce. It doesn't matter if you win by 10 pounds. You know, we can all say, everybody on that team said, we beat Jacob Wheeler, Dustin Connell, Jacob Porosnik, Cody Meyer, John Cox, Keith Carson, and the list goes on. Belat, Mark Daniels Jr. Like the U.S., trust me, they bring a stacked team. They bring.
Not only that, like if you follow bass fishing, like some of the anglers that come out of Mexico, some of those guys I've gotten to know over the years since Cornwall,
Richie
they
Garcia,
are
yeah.
right. Hammers. A couple of the guys out of Portugal, a couple of the guys out of, everywhere. It's crazy to think that there's bass in South Africa or there's bass but there is, man. There is. And there's some hammers.
There's like 4 African nations that take part in the World Championship.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about it is we've always known there's been bass stocked in South Africa and so forth, and not surprised in other, African countries there. But there are teams that come to the World Championships, and we're going to Italy for that in October. But places like Croatia, they have no bass there. Even in the Pan American, Costa Rica has no bass there. Which was pretty impressive when they came to the first Pan Americans, and they beat out the Mexicos for the bronze. And it was like such an upset, shocking, because they, like I said, they don't even fish for bass, but it's just fishing, right? So
it is, but I mean, think about it. Like obviously, Costa Rica, I don't know what kind of inland fishery they would have, but like targeting saltwater fish would be a lot different than bass fishing. So that's interesting.
My understanding is the closest thing they have to a bass is what they call it a rainbow fish, but.
But I mean, a lot of those guys travel the world fishing for bass too, right? It's like us, we travel the world going fishing for saltwater species. They travel the world, going looking for bass. But like Cuba, have you ever fished bass in Cuba?
I have not, but it's got some incredible bass fishing there. I know.
Like it's apparently, so according to Bob Azumi, it was incredible in the 80s, and it's slowly gone to ish, but. I had a chance. I met a Cuban guy and I said, listen, I want to go to Lake X and I want to fish for bass. And he took me down there and it was a blast. I mean, I didn't catch a 10-pounder like I wanted to, but it was awesome. I got to fish for bass in Cuba. It was a pretty cool thing to do, right?
But I think the potential was there to catch a 10-pounder. It's just like we go to Florida. We all hope to catch a 10-pounder. We don't always do.
I've yet to catch a bass in Florida.
But
you believe that? Out of all the trips I've taken down to Florida, I have not caught a bass in Florida.
Come on.
Interesting.
I get the salt water sucks me in, man.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, listen, it is. It is. Saltwater is such a different beast, and if you get a chance to go for snook or redfish or tarpon, and it's crazy, but bass will always be near to my heart, regardless. So, next year I'll be down in Florida again, and probably right after the boat show in January. And, I'm going to do some saltwater, but definitely we'll be hitting up, 3 or 4 bass lakes and, see if we can. And then of course, next year we got the Bassmaster Classic in Texas. And I'm going to do everything I can to put in a couple of days after the classic there and go bass fishing in Texas.
I think everybody who's planning on going down to the classic is planning on bass fishing in Texas. I mean,
yeah, I haven't fished down there since we fished Lake Fork when Joe was guiding down there. It was a blast, and some of the bass that they're coming out with there is like, oh, come on.
Yeah. There's one lake in particular that a lot of the pros go to, and I don't know if it's an inclusive lake, a VIP lake, but every friggin' bass you pull out of there is 8, 9, 10, 11 pounds.
Oh, ahve is the one where the most, kind of their share a lunker program, which has to be over 13 pounds. They get the most coming out of that lake than any other lake. So that's where Josh Jones guides and everything. So
how far do you think we are from 10 pounds in Ontario? A 10-pounder? Either species.
Well, do you know what? There's a 10-pound largemouth in Ontario.
No, but I
mean,
mean consistent 10-pound.
What's that?
A
Oh,
consistent
yeah.
10-pounder.
No.
You don't think so?
We don't have the growing season. That's it. I mean, you look at that. You look at the New York State record that just set, a couple months ago on Lake Cayuga, 12:35 or something. Come on, that's such a freak for up here for a northern largemouth. 12:35.
Mm.
That's insanity.
100%.
Yeah, 10-pound smallies. I think we'll see 10-pound smallies before we see 10-pound largemouth. To be honest,
Because we've seen 8, we've seen 8 or 9.
My PB is 8.7, so just under 9. So it's and the thing is, I've actually had fish on that I felt were bigger than that one. So was it? And the other thing was, we weighed it on a little Rapala hand scale, and that 10-pounder that was caught on Erie last year, my dimensions were very similar. Mine was like like 3/4 of an inch shorter, but it probably had an inch girth on that one down there. So who knows if I put it on a proper scale? Who knows? It might have been 9. It might have been 10. Digital scales, you can say whatever. They can be close, but
True enough.
Yeah,
have you spent a lot of time out in New Brunswick, Dave, getting familiar with the waters?
So I've only honestly fished down in New Brunswick a handful of times. I've been down to fish the Striper Cup, which is if you want to try a fantastic fishery, the striper fishing down in New Brunswick is absolutely incredible. And if you time it right, you will be so worn out from catching these fish. It's crazy. But we did go down last year and we fished the Destination Nakawik Smallmouth Tournament. We did okay. We didn't do fantastic. We finished like 20 something, out of 70 whatever team. But we learned a lot. We've never been there before. We had like a day and a half of practice. And this time, like I said, when Moose is saying, we'll be down there on the 19th. So it won't be practice won't be the problem. It's just finding the right fish, and I think Team Canada is going to do really, really well.
Now, when you say finding the right fish, Jeremy's asking, and it's a great question, Jeremy. What do you think the average size bass will be in New Brunswick?
Anything over 3 pounds is a good fish. Fours would be like our 5s up here.
Okay.
And if you catch a 5, it's a legit giant. But there's what we've seen was I do believe in that system there's lots and lots of 3s. So the wild card, and we just talked about in the meeting tonight, is currently right now they treat largemouth as an invasive species. So there are actually some pretty big largemouth in the St. John River. Not plentiful, not tons and tons of them, but the ones that are there are big.
Yeah.
And if somehow we get the variance that we can weigh the largemouth in, I think that could be kind of a, a factor that, people have to consider,
Now, based on a lot of the talks that we've had with Lawrence and even Jason Barnews, they've got a real issue, real struggle when it comes to species down there. And this is sort of off the train of thought, but, with everything geared towards salmon and the smallmouth, the muskie, the striped bass, they're all taking a shadowed light to the salmon run and the importance of salmon to that fishery. Will this tournament, in your hope and dreams, will this tournament bring, or at least shed, a brighter light on smallmouth and the smallmouth fishery that's available?
Absolutely. They're gonna recognize that the smallmouth fishery can make the province and the tourism and all the people who rely on that as much money as the salmon fishery does. Once people see how good the fishing is here, and you get, like I said, you get Jacob Wheeler and Scott Martin showing it on their YouTube stuff. I'll tell you, things are going to blow up here. There's going to be people traveling long distances to catch fish. And the thing is, the section of the river we're fishing, it's actually above a dam. So from my understanding, there's no salmon up there because they can't get past this giant dam. I could be wrong. If somebody's more than welcome to correct me if I am, but I think they have some big muskies there. But I struggle with why they don't allow you to weigh in largemouth, because you're not moving it to a different body of water. It's literally staying in the same body of water. It's not going anywhere. And like I said, as far as I know, there's no salmon in there. So what are you affecting?
True enough.
There's a lot of
there's no scientific proof that it even affects it. There's definitely more. I'm not going to get into arguments with the the Salmon Coalition and people down there, but there's more factors that have led to the demise of the Atlantic salmon than smallmouth bass. There's environmental changes, climate changes. There's water quality. There's lots of stuff. Smallmouth may be a small portion of it, but it's not the only reason. And I think it's kind of like we look at let's take, if we want to talk locally, let's look at Balsam Lake. Okay, Balsam Lake was always a great muskie fishery. Of course, the pike navigated in from Lake Simcoe through the Trent Severn waterway, and now there's quite a good population of pike in Balsam. And there's no closed season on. You can fish them anytime you want. You can ice fish them anytime you want.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people said, "Oh, we should catch and kill them all." Why? Why not? There's a fishery. Enjoy the fishery. You know me. I like.
You don't think they'll? You don't think they'll? You don't think they'll affect the walleye population in smaller, like pike being as aggressive as they are? If they're taking over a smaller lake, you don't think it'll affect any other species in that lake?
I tell you, you were there. I just did 2 days on Balsam and that crazy wind that we dealt with there. The walleye were freaking on fire. There's so many walleye.
Yeah.
We couldn't keep, every time usually you can tell on live scope if they're walleye, because there's larger schools, and you can say, "Oh, those aren't bass, those are walleye." But then sometimes you get like 2 nice big blobs coming along, and you think, "Oh, those could be bass," and you throw it to it and you hit it and you get a 4-pound walleye, and you're going, "Oh man," Like I think, especially during the second day, we probably caught 3 that were above the slot limit that we could have kept. Like nice, really nice walleye. So it's not affected the walleye in Balsam, I can tell you that.
So to better my chances of catching a good walleye, I should enter into a bass tournament. Is that what you're saying, Dave?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Steve Shaw,
let's muskie fishing, right? So many years ago, I bought all the gear to go muskie fishing, and I went out there and I trolled and I trolled and I trolled, and I caught the odd one. And I said, "Man, this is really hard work. I don't really catch as many fish as I want to. I'm not going to muskie fish anymore." Well, you go bass fishing, I catch more. I'm probably at I think I'm at 9 muskies already this year, and the biggest one being like 49 inches. So not exactly little ones. And I'm bass fishing.
Yeah, light tackle and tiny little baits.
Yep.
That's hilarious. Steve Shaw's asking a question. How many days is the event going to run?
So I think officially it's, if I'm not mistaken, it starts on the Wednesday, and the Wednesday is the registration day. And then we have Thursday, which is our official practice day. And the official practice day is kind of interesting because it literally is a actual run through of how the tournament will go. So you'll get a blast off number. You have to be there on time. You have to blast off in order. You have to check in at a certain time. You just don't bring any fish in.
Yeah.
Everything, you go through everything. So when nobody has any, misunderstanding. And then we have Friday and Saturday are the 2 main tournament days. So
incredible. Of course, this is not just a tournament, but a gala. And Moose, can you speak to us where we're at when it comes to the blueprint of what this gala will entail, the events they have planned and everything else?
They're like picture a full. This is like a full festival. There's food trucks. There's vendors selling things. There's an opening ceremony at what's the name of the square?
Officer Square.
Officer Square. So at Officer Square, full production. We're
Yeah, there'll
talking
be a
opening
live
ceremony.
band.
Yeah, there's live music.
Yep.
That's the opening ceremonies. And then as far as like the event itself goes, the weigh-in is not just a weigh-in. Yes, it's at 3. They come in, they weigh the fish, but all day, again, there's vendors, there's music, there's entertainment. So when you go to the Big Axe, Destination Nakawik, everywhere you go, you'll know that, Bass Canada is there, because there'll be something happening throughout the whole week.
By the way, if you haven't been to the Canada Bass Facebook page to see the video they've done of the Big Axe Marina in Nakawik, you have to go see it. They actually built this marina and fashioned it so we can actually hold tournaments there. The way there's 2 ramps, the way it's incredible. Like,
it's very cool. The province,
Mayor Tim Fox, they've done an amazing job. Like I said, I got to enjoy it when I was down at the Destination Nakawik event last year. And really looking forward to getting back there and for the Pan Americans here.
Yeah, it's very cool. I don't think a lot of people realize how much time, money, and effort everyone has put into this. The province, the government, the organizations. We're trying to bring bigger events to Canada, right? So this one is going to be big, and this one is going to set the stage for the next one. I can't really talk much about the next one, but as you know, Dave and everybody else has to qualify to go. Isn't that correct, Dave?
Yeah, most of the team qualifies to go. Of course, we've sent this year we've sent some special invites out to Gussie and Coop, because they obviously have a hard time making our qualifier and stuff like that, and we're just recognizing them for their accomplishment in the professional bass fishing circuits. The same, we did invite Chris and Corey as well, but they had some other obligations that they couldn't make it. And of course, we extended an invitation to Bob Izumi just because of, I guess, legend status, right?
There it is. Legend
so
status.
he didn't have, but everybody else on the team actually qualified through fishing through a qualifier in the St. Lawrence last year.
Yeah, but any of the fishing tournament series in Ontario, if you place within the one, I think first, second, and third, you also get, first. So let's say first out of the CSFL, or first out of shootout, or first out of whatever series that you're fishing, you also get an invitation to do the qualifier. So it's kind of cool how next year is going to be set up in a way where you go and you have to qualify to fish for Team Canada. In the past, people were chosen just because there wasn't, not to say that much interest, and sorry, Dave, maybe there wasn't, but
so the first year in 2018 down on Okeechobee, Bob pretty well kind of handpicked the team because we were on a tight timeline. There was no time to hold a qualifier. He literally, I think he found out in kind of first week in January, and we had to be there in a month, like in February. So where do we hold a qualifier? We can't hold a qualifier. So we had to pick a thing. But since then, we've actually held a qualifier for the 2019 team. We actually held a qualifier in Cornwall, and we held a qualifier 2 years ago on the Bay of Quinte, and we held a qualifier this past year in the St. Lawrence. The 1 year in between that we didn't hold a qualifier was only because I don't want to bash them or anything, but our friends in Mexico were just like messing us up with dates and stuff. So they went and picked a date that we couldn't hold a qualifier in time. So we just kind of went on past results and how everybody finished, and gave people opportunities depending on how they finished.
And that's the hardest part, is coordinating a lot of these dates. Like, you thought it was hard to coordinate dates in Ontario with 2 or 3 other tournament organizers or organizations. Try doing that with multiple countries. With like it's tough. Like, then I know the next one.
We got a couple. We have three boys on the team from 2 from Nova Scotia and 1 from Brunswick. So
yeah. I mean, there's the next one. The next qualifier is going to be Bay of Quinte. Bay of Quinte in November 2 and 3. Is that correct, Dave?
I think it's 1st and 2nd. It's a Friday,
First and
Saturday.
Second. Yeah. So that's going to be the next qualifier. So September, is New Brunswick. Then there's a qualifier. Then there's Team Mexico has already set the date. I believe it's end of May, beginning of June.
Yeah.
They're going to be hosting the next Black Bass Championship. So it moves quickly, but everybody sort of needs to be on board with everybody else. And then what we're hoping is in, I believe, 2 years or 3 years, it's back here in Kingston. I think that's how it's going to go down. I don't know, but that's the game plan.
Yeah, well, I think in the Pan American side of thing,
Mhm.
there is really only Mexico, the U.S., and Canada that
Mhm.
has facilities and lakes big enough to hold a tournament of this size. Like we couldn't go to Costa Rica because, like I said, there's no bass in Costa Rica.
No.
So it will be a rotation. So next year it is in Mexico, and then the following year it'll be U.S., and then the year after that. So we're talking, 2027, it'll be back in Canada.
Mhm.
Where it'll be, it could be Kingston, it could be, who knows? We could hold it out in BC. We can honestly hold it anywhere we want in Canada.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Yeah,
Great point.
there's lots of opportunities there, and lots of opportunity for people right across the country to become part of this.
Is it a live release tournament?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I figured as much, but I wasn't sure because down there's so many discrepancies.
The penalties are very severe.
Absolutely.
There's no dead fish penalty. If you have a fish that they deem to be dead and not going to survive, they just take it out of your bag. You don't even get to weigh it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because we had that happen in Okeechobee on the second day. Rob and all our fish were fine, but it took a little time because they had the FLW crew there, so they were talking. So and by the time we got to go up to the thing, one of our fish was kind of thing, and the guy said it's not going to survive. You can't weigh it, and he takes a 2 3/4 pound out of our bag, and instead of finishing second for silver, we end up fifth overall. So yeah, there's some different rules. There's definitely some different rules, but everybody's going to have a great time. I know I saw most of the Puerto Rican team down at ICAST in Orlando a little while ago, and they are so jacked. They are so excited.
I was talking to a bunch of guys from Team Mexico. We stay in touch, and they're just as pumped. All the guys from the U.S. are just as pumped. So everybody that's coming to New Brunswick is really pumped about the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, keep an eye out and support these guys, right? Because this is the ultimate goal. And I don't know if you knew, but the ultimate goal is to bring this event or this style of event to a Olympic platform. So I'll be the first to say it. If you can throw breakdancing into the Olympics, why can't fishing be there too, right? So
they use horses in equestrian events and stuff like that. So the thing is they have to meet certain criterias, and they've already, like FIPS and SIPS, the World Organization, have already done most of the work, and they know what all the criteria is for something to be considered for an Olympic sport, and I think they've addressed most of them, because I think at the Worlds there should be somewhere around 30 something different countries. There, like I said, 4 African nations: Germany, Spain, Italy, Portugal, England, Croatia, Serbia. It's Korea, Japan. So it's crazy, and that's one of the criterias. So it has to be a sport that a certain number of countries partake in. So it can't be just a sport that is only practiced in Canada and US. That obviously that gives us a huge advantage, right?
Yeah.
But if they can show that many countries partake in it, then our chances, that's one hurdle that's been taken care of.
How many boats, Steve is asking, so far are signed up for this?
So I do believe
there's
Team
11
Canada,
nations.
Yeah, we're bringing our own boats. I don't know if Mexico is bringing all their boats or not. I know last time in Cornwall they did not. They flew in, but they might. US is bringing their own boats. We have 2 First Nations teams. They'll have their own boats. So there's probably going to be like 6 or 7 countries
I believe Team China also has their own boats.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But there's going to be probably 6 or 7 countries that will require volunteer boaters to kind of drive them around, and
Yeah.
they're not there to guide them or anything. They just got to drive them where they want to go.
Yeah, and so if anybody is out there and they're interested in coming down to the event, experiencing this whole thing, there is a program in place where, you know, you'll be driving your boat and you're out with a host or another nation or two people from, and you'll get paid $500 a day to cover your cost of, you know, your expenses for the boat, along with accommodations and along with, you know, getting to experience the whole event.
The accommodations, if no one has seen it, you Google the Delta in Fredericton. This place is beautiful. Their accommodation down there is just it's a world class, you know, hotel. It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to staying there.
So if you got nothing going on and you want to help out and donate your time and bring a boat and take some of these guys out fishing, you know, $1,500 for 3 days plus accommodations and one hell of an experience.
Yeah, you get to rub shoulders with myself, Bob Azumi, Jacob Wheeler.
Dave, secretly, I was told, and this was just Little Bird told me, but Bob's relieved to have you there because he's tired of people misidentifying him as Dave. Yeah, so he's going to be able to point to you and say, "No, that's stronger over there. I'm someone else." That's awesome.
It happens with Scotty and I all the time. They're like, "Are you Moose?" I'm like, "No, that's Scotty."
Yeah,
you know, I can see the
like a moose.
white guy, brown guy,
Exactly.
you know,
Hey.
tall and handsome, short and chubby. It's just.
Dave, so if there's 11 country and there's a maximum of 8 teams, 8 pairs per country, so there is the potential to be 88 boats in this thing. Now there's not, because not all teams are bringing the max 8 thing, so there isn't, but there was the potential for there to be as many as 88 boats in the event, Steve. If that answers your question.
That's awesome. Right on. Well, gentlemen, as always, I know, Moose, you're going to be coming on here with us for further updates. If we can get Bob Azumi on later on, that would be great too. But
I'll talk to him.
As you said, it's awesome, Dave. Always a pleasure to take the time to talk to you. And if you're not talking fishing, you're usually talking electronics. And one of these days, we got to get you back on to discuss that a little further, because
there's
a lot of people
have reached there. That's for sure. And you know, always great to be on you guys and with CFN and the and all the people out there. It's always a blast talking to you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for your time, buddy, and good luck.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
Brother. Well, as always, Moose, a pleasure talking to you. But this sounds like it's a big deal. Like, I mean, for those who may not know a little bit about it, this sounds like a really big deal.
It really is. It really is. Like I said, originally when I was asked to help out and come on board, I didn't understand how big this event really was. It wasn't until my first meeting with all the guys. This is big. I mean, they're trying really hard to bring bass fishing to Canada on a larger scale, and not to discredit anything that anyone has done in the past, because let's face it, we know some of these tournament organizers and, you know, series have really put their whole life into it, and they've brought it to where it is now. But I think on a grander scale, it just there needs to be more eyes and more support from outside of North America. And I think that's what this is. This is more support from the Mexicos of the world and the US and the Portugals and the Italys. And that's how it gets to be that much bigger. And I think really this is going to be a very cool event. I hopefully can showcase as much of the behind the scenes as possible, so you guys can see it and understand it. And like, honestly, come down. Like, it's a 10 or 12 hour drive, and accommodations are cheap. Take it as a vacation. If you got a boat, donate your boat, $500 a day. You know, free hotel, $1,500, and a good time. Like, I mean, you can't come down with aluminum, but it's got to be a decent boat that you can take these guys fishing out in. But it's really big. I'm really impressed. I'm really happy with. I'm really impressed with everything that Joe's put together. Joe and Brent and the whole team. They've worked at this for a very long time, and they've done it. They've done it with everybody saying, this is never going to happen. And boom, look, it's 5-6 years later, and here we are with the government's full support and the province's full support. And so my hat's off to them and all the hard work. And hopefully we can continue to showcase bass fishing in a way that the whole world gets behind it. So that's
awesome.
Sort of, yeah.
As always, pleasure having you on. It's a thrill and a delight to see you. You always put a smile on our face, whether you're trying to or not.
Before I go, I am going to be missing the OFC Nation retreat this year. But I promise you guys, I'm going to make sure I hook Scotty up with all the goodies, because there are a ton of them from everyone out in the fishing world, whether it's BKK or Rapala or Shimano. Like, the list of people that have donated to the grab bags for the OFC Nation retreat is unreal. And they continuously step up every single year and do so. So I'm sad that I'm going to miss it, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to New Brunswick for sure. So
yeah, 100%, buddy. Right on. All right, dude. I'll maybe give you a shout tomorrow, because I do got to run. I got a couple phone calls I got to make tonight. Cool. But I'll give you a shout tomorrow, because we do need to catch up. It's been a while since I had a chance to talk.
I'm on vacation. I'm on Lake Erie right now, and we're gonna go out for an evening troll, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Give me a call. I'm sitting around on the couch drinking Red Stripes and having a good time.
Good boy, buddy. Enjoy.
Yeah. Thanks.
God bless you. All right, folks, that is the end of our show. Thanks so much for Yvonne coming on and discussing what is upcoming next Monday, which, of course, is Ladies' Night. And we are going to have a very special surprise for you. Lori Ann's coming on here with the manager and owner of White Falls. I believe it's White Fall or Waterfall. Sorry if I got that wrong. But she's a treat. You're going to enjoy every minute with her. She's a lot of fun. Of course, Mike and I are going to be doing Tourney Tuesday tomorrow. Steve and Walt are going to continue to do wonderful edits for you on our CFN page. So please make sure you send them into our inbox. That's the best way. And if you can share a story, because one thing that Walt and I did talk about a lot about at the CFN retreat is how sometimes it's difficult to come up with a background story to the fish, to the catch. So if you can add anything in regards to what led up to it, any really cool or funny circumstances that happened while you were catching it, hooking it, netting it, whatever, we'd love to hear all of that. In the meantime, you guys have yourself a great week. As I said, we will see you tomorrow on Tourney Tuesday for the last bit of giveaways and a final wrap up, which was a very successful CFN Fish Off. All the best. Thanks again to Horwood Lake Lodge for looking after my community as well as myself. Doris, Warren, you guys hit it out of the park again, and CFN couldn't be any more thankful. Looking forward to our OFC Nation retreat at Camp McIntosh. But in the meantime, again, have yourselves a great week. Love you all. Take care. Dave, take us away, bud.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.